Or were you supposed to literally get married, and then if you don't have children, there's no bliss? Tonight we want to dig deep into this and find out really bliss in marriage when there are no children. Okay? Bliss in marriage when there are no children. How can we bring bliss in marriage when we have no children? I would like to open it up for you, our viewers. You literally have your opinions, but over here we bring absolute truth. You have your opinions. If you get married and you're not having children, what are you going to do? Run out and get a child so you may be happy? Is that what fixes the lack of children in your marriage? Does it bring bliss in your marriage? We're going to find out tonight. But before we do that, I'd like you to tell me, you are in a marriage and you don't have children. Can you still be happy? Can you still move them?
This is Africa. A couple can stay together without children in foreign countries, but in Africa, we can't.
What? Should I chase a guy because he can't give birth?
Not really. I think love matters most. There are those people who really stay together and they don't have any kids, but they end up really staying together in love. I think to me, love really matters more than having kids.
My cousin, they've been staying together for almost 20 years. They don't have a kid, but they have realized that it is not themselves. It is God's plan, by the way.
So marry for love, don't marry for material things or kids. Yeah.
In every relationship, for a family to be regarded as a family, children are always part and parcel of the family.
You may stay happily together, but then something will be missing. Children will be missing, you know, noise in the house, like that. Even couples who don't have children, rarely, families don't visit them at all, like in Africa.
The Kalenjin culture in Kenya, you are allowed to have other children, but you don't divorce the first wife. You stay with your wife and get children with the other wife and continue with this other one.
I would say those people are primitive.
Those couples who don't have children, be yourself. You can adopt or be happy like that.
Yeah, they should love each other and have hope, because it is God who gives, you know. You never know.
If you go by biblical, even Abraham gave birth at 100 years. So you never know at one time God given, a child can come up. So I would say patience pays, though it pains.
There used to be what they used to do, that you invite your brother or your cousin to come and get children with your wife. Of course, you do it that one secretly without the man knowing. And then they continue living happily. That is according to our culture.
But okay, let's start trying to have children.
Okay.
We did not expect that, it would take as long as it did.
But tell us, you started trying, so...
We started trying, so when we agreed to wait, we thought about different birth control options.
Okay.
And so at the time when we discussed and said, all right, let's have children, we got off any and all types of birth control.
Birth control, okay.
And we didn't pay any particular attention to not having kids. We paid all our attention to having kids. Yes, there was no way we could even imagine that it was more complicated to have children.
You just believed as long as a man sleeps with a woman, they conceive.
Yes.
And that's what it's supposed to be, part of us.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, it wouldn't be hard.
Yes.
And now how did you start facing the reality that you were not having babies?
At first, of course, because of the excitement, I expected to be pregnant immediately.
Yes.
Even the doctors, even the doctors that we had visited for the birth control and everything said, no, now everything should be okay. You should be able to conceive.
Okay.
And then I got restless personally because I had friends that had got married after me.
And they had
and they were having children and they were conceiving. Then, of course, I had those friends who were not even wishing for children at the time, but they were physically involved with their partners intimately, and they got pregnant. And I was
Those were
wondering,
not even thinking of having children.
yes,
Were busy getting pregnant.
yes,
And you wanted children.
yes,
And you couldn't get pregnant.
and I couldn't get pregnant.
How do you handle that?
You wish them well at first. You're happy for them, of course. I love children. I love babies. So I always spent a lot of time with them, helping them as much as I could. But then I became uncomfortable. I started wishing for my own children. And of course, I kept wondering why it wasn't happening. So of course, they tell you, consider doctors, visit a doctor, check that everything is okay. And we took the step, you know.
You and who?
My husband and I.
Okay.
But many times, I don't know if it is a society thing or it's just stereotypes. Many people think it's the woman that has to do all the work. So even when I went to visit the doctors, I didn't really even tell him. I didn't ask him to come along. I just thought, I just need to see a doctor.
Somehow, subconsciously, you believe, based on the society we live in, that if there are no babies, it's not the man.
No, it's not the man.
It's got to be the woman.
Yes.
Then this is equally so dangerous.
It
out
is.
there.
It is. It is. And I know many women who have really suffered with their husbands because the husband just thinks it has to be the woman. Me, I'm okay. You know?
I mean, you're okay. What makes you think you're okay?
It's
I
a
mean,
mystery.
so just only the women?
It is a mystery. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but
I think society has wrongfully deceived men and raised them up on a pedestal.
Very true.
And told them, as for having children, you can have children. As long as you're male and you're functioning sexually, then you can have children. Is that true?
I don't think it's true.
It's not true.
I don't think it's true. I mean, from our own experience, when my husband had to take those tests, we got revelations.
What do you mean those tests?
So in the process of having children, trying to have children, there's a doctor who graciously provided me counsel.
Okay.
And said, don't just assume that you're the one with the problem, or
Call
if
your
there's a
husband.
problem at all. Call your husband, let me talk to him. Let's see if he has done anything on his side, if he's visited any doctors, and we see how I can support you or how I can help you.
Yeah.
So there's a test they conducted. I can't remember the medical term, but basically they just test the man's sperm and see how they're functioning, if they're healthy, if he needs help, and, you know, all of those things. So he came in and we had a conversation with the doctor, and he did the tests that he needed to do.
Now hold it there. How does he come in? Because, you know, we're living in a society where most of our viewers, even the men out there, believe, I ain't got a problem. So how did you ever get him to acknowledge and subject himself to this examination? Because some are so scared, in case it is me, then probably I'm not a man anymore. How did you, tell us, how did you get him to subject himself to that medical examination?
We talked. One of the things that we have enjoyed as a couple is conversation.
Okay.
We went in open, we allowed ourselves to be free, even if sometimes it required us to be vulnerable. But we knew that we were each other's safe space.
Okay.
So given that background, he knew that I wouldn't have done anything without considering how he would have dealt with it.
Yes.
So the first time we had the conversation, he said, okay, I'll come. You know, he thought it was just a conversation with the doctor. So he said, I'll come. It's okay, I'll come.
So in other words, your openness in communication did so much to help him go for the examination. Okay, go ahead.
So I told him that the doctor said you may be required to do some tests. And he thought, tests? What kind of tests? But I thought, the doctor will explain. Because I also wasn't sure how to present it to him without making him feel insecure.
Yeah.
So he came, and then he asked the doctor for a separate visit
Without you.
without me. And I thought, okay,
Wow.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe there are things he doesn't feel comfortable talking about. Maybe there's man talk. And so at that appointment, he told me about it. He told me he was going in to see the doctor. And that's the time when the doctor asked him to have the tests.
Okay.
And he accepted.
Okay.
But then in the middle of the tests, he became, I think, scared.
I know.
And he called me.
Oh, dear.
And he asked me to come. So I came to the hospital, and we went through the rest of the appointment together. Yes.
That's so lovely.
Yes.
That's so lovely. That's, I mean, he realizes now whatever comes, let it come. I'm ready. But at
Indeed.
least you better know
Yes.
that you're here with me.
Yes.
I think that is expressing love.
Yes.
That is expressing love.
Yes.
Now, so that's good. So both of you go through the tests.
Yes.
And what are the results?
The result was normal. He didn't have any medical challenges. He didn't have any issues. But the doctor just encouraged him, and told him to relax, and told him to slow down if he was under any kind of pressure.
Okay.
And he was really happy to oblige, because he saw that I really, really was desperate for children.
Oh, wow.
He also wanted children, but I don't know if it's a guy thing. He didn't really talk that much. Or he wasn't, getting restless about not having children. In fact, he didn't even put me under any kind of pressure. Whatever pressure I felt might have been somehow from outside or self, mostly self.
Now, since he didn't put you under pressure, a lot of men will really pressure their wives. And this destabilizes the woman.
Yes.
It brings more weight on her.
Yes.
Now, you talk about external pressure if you're not receiving some from within your own home.
Yes.
And now you're just the two of you. There's nothing in the home. And then there's pressure. How external pressure did you receive? Pressure, because this is an African society. Did you receive pressure from in-laws, from outside, or even your own parents and siblings, wondering, hey, because this is how it usually happens. So your parents, so that those from your side would go like, is he really good enough? Is he doing fine? And then on his side, they're going to go, that woman over there, I think she's just doing good. It's you who has the problem. Was that the case?
Immediate family, it wasn't that much pressure.
Okay.
I think my mom was concerned because in our culture, having children is one of the first things that happens when you get married, you know? So, of course, it not happening and us being busy with work and school, she began to wonder. And then we used to have those conversations where I should recommend I see this doctor or that doctor, or what, trying to help me really.
Yeah.
It wasn't the pressure of, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So at some times I took it really from that point of grace and love where she was coming from. But at some moments, because of what was going on inside me, I just thought, I don't need this right now. So it caused me to be resentful. It caused me to avoid her at some point.
But even when she was trying to be positive.
Yes, and trying to help and trying to be there for me. We grew up with just one parent, so she goes out of her way to see how she can support her children. From the side of the in-laws, our relationship was not so cultivated.
Yes.
So we used not to talk about personal things.
Yes.
But there were concerns,
I know.
You hear whispers here, Then there's that distant in-law who will say, what's happening. But the immediate family, no. They just kept quiet.
And watched.
They respectfully tried to make sure that they did not offend.
What would you say to in-laws that face someone like you and they really come through strong and push you up? What would you say?
I would ask them to exercise empathy, because there are so many reasons why people take time to have children. And sometimes, like in my case, we were doing everything that we could do or everything that we knew to do, but it just wasn't happening. And many times they don't have the full story, they don't have the full information. They're looking from outside, and they're wondering what's going on, what's up. And if they're bold enough, they'll even ask the couple. But then it creates more tension and pressure between the two people. And sometimes some in-laws go as far as to influence their child. So if it's the lady, they'll be telling her, you know, what's up, do something. If it's the gentleman, they'll be telling them, we can find you another wife. It's not necessary. It's not what a couple needs at that time. A couple needs understanding. A couple needs patience. A couple needs someone who is going to respectfully stay away if they need to stay away, because there are those moments where you don't want to see anybody, where you feel that pressure yourself of, now I'm going to see this person, we still haven't had children, and it's just too much to deal with. So what I would tell them is support in the best way possible. Put yourself in their situation and see the kind of support you would have wanted, and then provide that support. And if you can find, if the relationship has evolved for you enough to ask the questions, ask them from a point of grace, from a point of wanting to understand, rather than a point of demanding. That's what I would tell them.
Okay, unless you've put it so well, wanting to understand rather than demanding.
Yes.
That's something all of us need to do. When a couple is not having children, honestly, doesn't mean they've decided not to have. And even if they decide not to have, we need to respect that couple. We need to honor that couple. And just watch them, pray for them, rather than bringing in a lot of pressure. Maybe there's something we need to correct for our audience and for our viewers. Okay, when we get married, we want to have children. But what's the purpose of marriage? Is it to have children?
No, it's not. If it was just to have children, how many of us would be married?
I mean, we would have ceased.
Exactly.
Because once you give me the babies, then I walk out. It's over.
That's it.
It's over.
So
that means marriage is bigger than having children.
Yes, definitely.
That means as long as the two of you become one, loving each other, reflecting the image of God, this union, this oneness, it will protect you from all other external influences.
True.
And it will help you enjoy and have bliss.
True.
So literally the oneness is so important.
Yes.
But many times, it is one of the hardest things.
Yes.
When you're not having children.
Yes.
One of the hardest things is to carry out meaningful conversations and to have oneness.
Yes.
I saw something over here in your book that I would like to read out over here. This is a beautiful book. There's something that comes out when you mention it.
Yes.
Over here. You say, this is chapter 7. Chapter 7.
Yes.
And that's page 54.
Yes.
On some occasions, I relapsed and drank myself almost into oblivion. On one such night, I got started out of sleep while driving and saw a pair of white vision-like hands controlling the steering wheel. My arms were collapsed to my sides while the car had been in motion, driven by someone I couldn't see. Driven by someone I couldn't see. How did you get to this?
To that particular day, or?
Exactly, to such a moment. Not because now you're relapsed and drunk. Seems like because of the pressure, you got to a point where you started drinking.
Yes.
And when you started drinking, then you were like off and then on and off, and you were confused. You went through all this. Do you know, Kathy, there are women watching us And they're relating to exactly this particular moment in your life.
Yes.
And that's why I brought it out.
Yes.
So you turned to drinking because you couldn't have babies.
Well, yes, because being sober for me meant I had to think. And of course, most of the times when you have to think, you think about the things that
face the
put you on
reality.
pressure. Yes. So I would even just walking out and seeing a pregnant woman made me think, I want to be like that. Why am I not like that? Why is she the one and not me? You know? And, you know.
So you literally built pressure on yourself.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And I would think, okay, God, I'm married. I'm married to a very wonderful man. How can this be the thing that is missing? And like I said earlier, we used to enjoy conversation, but after a while, we begin to keep ourselves busy. I had a busy job, but it wasn't that busy, but I had to fill the gaps.
Yeah.
And where I couldn't fill the gaps, I drank. Whether I was alone, whether I was with friends, I didn't want to think, so I drank so that my mind was not sober.
It was an escape route for you.
Yes.
Denial.
Yes, a coping mechanism.
A coping mechanism. You didn't know how to handle this pressure. I see a pregnant woman, I think, I need a child. Why her? Why not me?
Yes.
And then I go into drinking. Man, this is just so deep. We're going to come back in just a minute because I want answers from Catherine Bajender.
Yes.
I want answers from Catherine Bajender. For now, when the pressure was too much, she went into drinking. We'll be back and see how she overcame this. Unlocking marital bliss. Bliss. You're so welcome once again. You're still watching Unlocking Marital Bliss with me, Cyrus Rod. And I am still enjoying my guest over here, Catherine Bajender. And Catherine.
Yes.
We still talked about you starting to drink as a coping mechanism. And you drank, and there's this particular day where you drank yourself silly.
Yes.
You started driving, you almost died.
Yes, I
But
did.
there's some supernatural. Do you believe in angels?
Yes, I believe in angels. I believe in God.
You believe in God?
Yes.
So you believe that God comes in and helps human beings?
I know he does.
Because what I read over here, these arms, somebody who was literally controlling your steering wheel because your hands had gone down.
Yes.
You are literally going in
Yes.
sleep.
Yes.
But somebody controlled your steering wheel.
Yes.
Who do you think this was?
It was God.
It was God.
Yes.
Even when you were so drunk, silly, even when you had messed yourself up, is this the amazing grace you talk about here?
Yes, that is the amazing grace.
There's some women out there who have done exactly what you did and actually are doing it because they're trying to cope exactly the way you identified it. They're trying to cope.
Yes.
They don't know what to do. Some are even attacked by their in-laws. Some even the husband is saying, you're nothing. You can't give me babies. You're useless. You're just eating my food. You're just sheltered in my house.
Yes.
You're useless. And they feel useless at this point.
True.
They feel useless.
True.
I want you to look in that camera, say a word to them. I mean, look at what you went through. You felt useless. You messed yourself up. Yet God came.
Yes.
Is it possible for God to come to somebody so useless like that?
It is possible.
I want you to
It is
talk to them.
possible.
Take a minute.
I would like to tell anybody out there, it could be women, it could be men, that God knows you and God knows what you need and what you desire. And those desires in your heart are put there by God. God is going to bring you to a place of breakthrough where He will give you exactly what you want. The Bible says that we cannot ask God for bread and He gives us a stone. And this is the same God that we serve or we believe in every day. I come with a message of encouragement and a message of hope. It does not matter where you are. God knows you.
Okay, so God knows them, and that means He knows what they go through.
Yes.
He knows the pain of barrenness.
Yes.
And He's still able to work something out. How was your husband handling this? Was your husband drinking also?
No, he was not.
He wasn't drinking?
No, he was praying. Much later.
He was praying.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Much later. And I really applaud him for this because he never judged me, you know.
Oh dear.
But much later, he told me that he spent those nights awake. One, praying to God for Him to know where to look for me if I never came back home.
Oh, wow.
And two, praying to deal with if it had got to the extreme of, hospital and all of that, because he was answerable for me.
That's a real man.
Yes.
That's a real man.
He's an amazing person.
He spent the nights praying, God, where will I find her?
True.
And praying, God, help me that he never gets to hospital and things get worse. That was so touching. That is so moving.
Oh, yes.
Because there's some guys there who will be thinking, oh no, she's drinking, never come back in my house. So when you came back in the night, he opened the door for you.
He opened the door, he received me. Sometimes I couldn't walk on my own, and he supported me. I can't count the number of times he made breakfast the
Somebody
following
out there
day.
is asking, are you telling us some fairy tale from Ladybird books? Or
No, he lives and breathes.
Do those men do exist?
They do. They do. And God knows what we need. Because I don't know. I don't know how I would have made it with anybody else.
Without Paul?
Without Paul. I don't know. He used to tell me things like, because, you know, when you're out with friends, there will be this one who is being harassed by their spouse or their partner. Where are you? What time are you coming? And he never called. And at some point I used to say, but maybe he doesn't even care.
Yeah.
But he told me once, he said, I didn't marry you to imprison you. If this is something that you love to do, do it.
Oh.
If I can join you, I will. But it was not something that he did. He used not to enjoy loud places. He used not to even drink, you know. So for him, it was a strange thing that he couldn't deal with. But it is where I was coming from. It is what I knew, you know. So he encouraged.
I want to read this.
Okay.
Circumstances like ours would make anyone anxious with anticipation, and indeed, ours pushed Paul and I to the edge.
Yes.
Soon enough, we were fighting about everything. Because of our insecurities, we became more and more defensive and could hardly have a conversation of more than 5 minutes without busting into a blame game.
Yes.
Now, what do you mean by this? I mean, these circumstances pushed you to the edge. You got to a point. These are the real things our audience needs to relate with.
Yes.
To a real point where you felt like you're blaming each other.
So I finished school and we decided we are going to have children. And then the children don't come. And then a year goes by and another year goes by. The conversations run dry. The house is quiet. The house is quiet. The things that we enjoy to do together, we don't have time because either he's too busy or I'm not there. And then
so this busy thing is about coping.
At some point, I think he had to do that. I think that was his way of coping at some point.
Okay.
And we had just started our careers, so they were soaring. There were so many opportunities. especially for him who was, you know, self-employed at the time. So the conversations ran dry. Then we also had very limited time together. You come from work, you're tired. Sometimes I'd reach before him, sometimes I'd reach after him.
Yeah.
Even going to work. For me particularly, the mornings going to work, I never wanted to converse because I just thought, we have woken up in the morning. We still don't have children. I'm still not pregnant. So I used to leave home very early to go to work.
Yeah.
And it even, you get to realize these things later. When you're doing it, you don't really know what's going on. You just think, I'm busy, this is important. You know, let me put all my energy into this.
But you're actually running from something.
You're running from something. So the limited time we were together, I was either asking him if he had done something, or he was asking me about something I should have followed up on, or, you know, so there was,
It was
that
just mechanical.
tension. Yes.
It was just mechanical. Let me ask you another question.
Yes.
You know, we have something in the Word, in the Bible,
Yes.
where Sarah actually got to a point she had no children. And this guy was so good. She had no children, but the husband was so good, loved her.
Yes.
And she got to a point where she felt like, no, okay, at least not for me. You've been so good to me. Please just go out there, find a woman and try to have a baby.
Yes.
I'll support you. Did you ever get to such moments?
I did. I did.
Really?
There are two that I can highlight. There's a night we were in bed going to sleep, and I told him I failed.
Oh my God.
And of course, because my life was a mess, you know, drinking and partying, and I always felt like the worst spouse. So I
know.
told him.
And you felt he was too good for you?
Oh yes, I did. I did.
You didn't deserve his love?
No. I felt that for many years, you know. So there was that night, and I told him, you have my permission. And he asked me, do you even know what you're talking about? Obviously, I didn't know what I was talking about.
I know, you were so messed up.
I was messed up. The second incident was one night when I was praying, and I said, God, okay, maybe I don't deserve kids. Maybe I've done so many wrong things that, you know. So allow me to carry a pregnancy and let me die after giving birth, after giving this man a child. Those are the two really desperate moments that I remember.
If God had answered that prayer that way. Are there moments we regret some of the prayers we made?
Yes.
And we thank God he never answered them?
Yes, many of mine especially.
Many of
Many of mine, I'm grateful he didn't answer.
Oh,
And when I was going to have the first children,
Now tell us about you having children. Do you have children actually?
Yes, I have 4 children.
You have 4 children.
They came in sets, so I have 2 sets of twins.
You're in Alongo.
Yes, twice. Glory to God.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yes.
So how did they come?
The first came in 2010, 1st of December.
Because you discovered that you could have children. There was nothing wrong with you.
No, actually in the book, I think it's page 61 that we were talking about just before.
Okay.
The doctors described
After
a
3 more
condition.
unsuccessful attempts, our faith began to dwindle again.
Yes.
The doctor scheduled a more specialized procedure for us with another medical facility called a hysterosalpingogram, a test that diagnoses blocked fallopian tubes. Did you have blocked fallopian tubes?
No, I did not, according to the scans that I did.
Then what? This was a more painful and uncomfortable procedure. I remembered sitting in the car and crying after it was done. I asked God why I had to endure so much for a simple request. All I wanted was children. Perhaps this is what they meant when they said, no pain, no gain. After that procedure, part of me resigned. Paul was stronger than me. So at the next appointment with the doctor, he did all the talking. Now, Paul was stronger than you. I believe these were the moments you felt like, Paul, please go get another woman. Please go have a baby somewhere.
Yes.
You had resigned.
Yes. And I resigned a couple of times.
Not once, not twice.
No. I had resigned a couple of times, and I would have a conversation with someone and feel hopeful. I would say a prayer to God and feel, this time he has had me. You know, let me just keep pushing. So it's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
And for many of those moments where I felt I couldn't go on,
Yeah.
Paul was there. You know, he used to tell me things like, I believe there's something really good about you.
Oh my God. I want you to look in that camera and first comment Paul.
If you're there, if you're watching, he doesn't watch that much TV.
Okay.
But I would like you to know that I'm grateful that God gave me you.
Wow.
I would like you to know that life would never have been as great as it has been walking with you by my side. And I know that our happily ever after, we are living it, and we shall live to tell the tale.
Oh my goodness, this is so emotional. Oh my goodness, this is so real. Just watching her doing all this, and you know, having a man who can be there for you like that, quite emotional. And saying, you know what, Kathy, I still believe there's something good in you. There's something good in you. That's what Paul actually said to you. And he stood with you.
Yes. And he also always used to tell me, I know your heart is in the right place. He told, even today.
Even when you came back staggering.
Oh, yes. I know in the middle of all that drama, I know your heart is in the right place.
Oh, dear.
Yes.
So tell me, how did the children come in? Did you have a biological explanation or something that was hindering the babies?
In simple terms, in one word, people would call it infertility.
Yeah.
But the doctor explained simply that my fallopian tubes were too narrow for a natural conception. So sometimes the eggs would not be released all the way to meet the sperm.
Okay.
Other times it would not move at all. And so the chances of me having a natural pregnancy or natural conception were really low. But she said it's possible.
Okay.
So she advised us. One is to do, I think it's God, I can't remember the word right now. But there's a medical procedure where they try to widen them.
Oh, okay.
And the second alternative she told us was to try IVF.
Okay.
She said to us that the first procedure is extremely painful and it presents only a 15% chance of actually falling pregnant, and it's expensive.
Okay.
Then she said, if you have money, I would recommend IVF.
Okay.
So at that time of our lives, IVF was still new in Uganda.
Very expensive.
And very expensive.
Yes.
And I had two friends that had tried and had been unsuccessful. Their stories were so sad that I did not want to try it.
Okay.
So when we left the hospital that day, I told Paul, I'm not doing it. You know, if you want to do it, go ahead. Do the research, do what? I'll follow. But my heart is not there.
Yes.
I couldn't imagine myself going through the pain that my friends had gone through.
Yes.
So he said, I'll do the research, I'll pray, and if God answers me, we're going to do this.
Okay.
So he went ahead, did the research, we prayed. I wasn't as committed to the prayer because
you had had enough of it.
I'd had enough, you know. So
yeah.
And then he came to me, I think a month or two later, and said, God has answered, you know. He got a contract with somebody for the exact amount of money that a certain hospital had quoted for the procedure.
Yes.
So we went ahead, and we didn't do it in Uganda, we did it overseas.
Yeah.
And then we came back. The doctor prepares you, they advise you, they tell you when to do the test, they tell you what medications, how your diet should go and everything.
Yes.
And we followed instructions. So after 3 weeks of the procedure, I was required to go and do a pregnancy test, both the blood as well as the urine.
Yeah.
And I went. The result they give you is really, they use a lot of figures, so I couldn't interpret what it was saying.
Yeah.
But we had a doctor friend who was near the lab where we had gone, so I called him and he said I could come in. When he looked at it, he told me I wasn't pregnant. The pregnancy hadn't taken. And that's the day I think I just said, okay, God, maybe you want to give me children when I'm 100, like Sarah. So
Yeah.
I surrender everything. It's
You
okay.
resigned.
I resigned.
Yeah.
Then a month later, the doctor called me and said, maybe you ought to do another pregnancy test. And I was confused. I was like,
What's
I had even
this?
stopped this medication. And
Yes.
he said, just go. So Paul told me, if you don't want to do it, go and do it. Bring me the results. So I
He
went.
was still there for you.
Oh, he's there.
Thank you.
He's a very nice gentleman.
Mhm.
I'm blessed to have him.
You are.
Yes. So I went, but of course curiosity got the better of me. And at the time I got the results, I first resisted to look, but eventually I gave in and I checked, and the doctor had
You're still
given
seeing
us
the mathematics again.
Yes. So I looked, and the doctor had given us an estimate. If it's within this range, then you're pregnant. If it's within this range, then you're not. So I looked, and the result sort of implied that I was pregnant. But I was still nursing the heartbreak of the last month, so I thought, no. So I called him, I went in to see him, and he started smiling, and he was excited. And so he told me I was pregnant. And I was so overjoyed. I was so happy.
After how many years?
After 8 years of marriage.
After 8 years of marriage.
Yes.
After all the ups and downs, the messing yourself up, and
Yes.
your husband stuck with you.
He did in
He
an
stayed
amazing, amazing way. In so many ways, I know he was used by God.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
there's no way he would have done it by himself. No way. But God loved you so much that he positioned a man in your life.
Oh, yes.
To literally clean you up, carry you on, and to where he wanted you to be.
Yes.
And so you got the first set of twins.
Yes, I got the first set of twins on 1st December 2010.
2010.
Yes.
Wow, so they're probably 9 years now.
They're going to be 9
They're
this
going to
year.
be 9.
Yes.
Okay, 1st December 2010. And then you were like, we go for the second.
Not immediately. The excitement and the whole experience of, being pregnant and having twins, we sort of gave ourselves time to take it all in.
Okay.
To observe the kids. They had been born premature, so at first we were a bit careful, and then we realized, oh, these kids are okay.
Okay.
So in 2013, we started talking about having other kids.
Okay.
And I think physically I wasn't there.
Yes.
Because I'd started getting back my old figure, I'd shed off the weight,
Yeah.
And I really didn't look that bad, but I think there's that whole experience of wanting to find your old self physically. So I thought, no. But he thought, okay, yes, maybe let's try at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, we'll try. I love children, so I could even have 10 if given the opportunity.
Yeah.
So we tried in 2013, and we were not successful. So I thought, okay, good.
You're still doing the IVF?
Yes, because after the first procedure, they had frozen some of our embryos.
Okay.
So it was just a matter of me going, and they insert them in my womb.
Okay.
So we tried, and we were not successful. So we thought, okay. It was, of course, a bit comforting because we already had these ones. It wasn't as bad as the first time.
The first time.
So we thought, okay, we'll try again.
Okay.
Let's give ourselves time. So we started having the conversation again in 2015.
Okay.
And we felt prepared. We had gotten used to the rhythms of the kids. And so we were ready for other kids. And at that time, my prayer was, God, if you give me one child, I'll adopt another, the same age as this one, so that I raise them as twins. That was my prayer.
Okay.
And then,
adoption.
Yes, I said, if God gave me one, then I'll adopt one, the same
So they
age,
run the same.
so I could raise them at the same time. And then I got a word from the Lord that I was going to carry twins again.
Wow.
Yes. So we went on with the procedure. The pregnancy took, and I got the confirmation after doing the pregnancy test that I was expecting twins again.
That is so beautiful.
And we celebrated. We thanked God.
Amen.
We thanked God. They were born on 12th January 2016.
12th January 2016. So
Yes.
that's about 3 years now.
Yes. Yes.
How are they doing?
Oh, their life.
Their life.
They're fine, they're healthy, and they just fill our lives with so much joy.
There's so much we can talk about, but before we really wrap this up, after an 8-year wait for babies, can you tell me that your husband loves you because you gave him kids?
No.
Or he loved you just because you're Kathy?
My husband loves me. His love for me is very clearly different from his love for the children.
Do you know there are many women out there who believe and who've been actually convinced your husband is never going to love you until you give him a child?
They're there. They're there. But I'd like to encourage
I want you to
them.
speak to the man who believes the only time I'm going to love my wife is if she can give me a child. Take a minute, speak to that man
Gentlemen out there, you chose this woman before she had children. And when you say those vows on your wedding, you don't know what to expect when you're getting married. You don't know what is coming after your wedding day. And there's so many reasons why she may not have the children at the time that you want her to have the children. But you married her. You didn't marry children. Children are an addition, a bonus, a gift from God. But there's so much more that you can experience in your marriage with your wife, discovering who she is, encouraging her, challenging her to go out there and live out her full life. There's so many things about marriage that have nothing to do with children. The power of relationship, the power of communication, the power of love, you know, from my experience and many other people's experiences, it supersedes anything else. Your wife must always come first. Even when the children come, she must always come first.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask you still, pieces of me. Where can somebody find pieces of me?
I have some in Aristoc. I also have some at a popular new restaurant called Kampala Smokehouse. It's on Yusuf Lule Road. There's another gentleman I'm working with that runs an organization called Turner Page Africa. He promotes African literature. If you're in Kampala near him, he can bring it to you, or he can send someone to bring it to you. And I personally move with at least 10 copies. So if you bump into me and you want a copy, I'll have one.
That is so beautiful. This is a very good book. Real stories about what she went through. And this is a real person. This is not some kind of fiction. No, this is a real story. And how she overcame after 8 years. And yes, she's enjoying her marriage. And her man loved her. And yes, one of these days, I'm going to have Paul here. One of these days, and this time I'm going to have him and you. Because a lot of people out there believe, maybe Paul ain't real. Is he a real man?
He is real.
Loving you for real?
Yes.
Then we're going to have Paul get ready, because I'm coming for you. I'm going to bring you here to Unlocking Marital Bliss, and you'll be able to tell us your story and encourage other men out there, because they need to hear you. They need to know, yes, there are real men out there. And so having gotten this, I can assure you that it's been a pleasure having you on set today.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure having you on set, and you'll always be welcome. This is Cyrus Rod, and we believe if you love your woman, it's not about the babies.
Yes.
Just love the woman.
Yes.
The babies will come. If they don't come, you love the woman. It's so fulfilling. Until next time, you're blessed. Unlocking Marital Bliss.
My First 4G smartphone from Airtel is back. It's bigger, better, and comes with 5 GB free data per month for 3 months. At only 200,000 Uganda shillings, enjoy fantastic features on the phone, like the face unlock feature, long battery life. Mwana, ka volume keko. Live your life in 4G with My First 4G smartphone at only 200,000 Uganda shillings and get free 5 GB data every month for 3 months. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, dial *175*9# to enjoy free data. Airtel, the smartphone network.
This weekend on UBC.
My name is Nkaiv Hannington, winner of the NSSF Friends with Benefits Season 2.